Major flooding occurring across the northern rivers of New South Wales, with the severe weather risk heading southwards. See, the severe weather warnings have been peeled back out of Queensland as weather settles down there. A remaining warning in New South Wales is for heavy rainfall. Now, this is 6 hourly totals of up to 200 millimetres, with locally intense rainfall with embedded thunderstorms of up to 300 millimetres an hour. Now, this is likely to lead to flash flooding, and we've seen that in some of the suburbs of the Gold Coast overnight, where accumulations reached up to 300 millimetres. Damaging winds is a risk within that area, and we have seen wind gusts around the Byron area approach up to 80 kilometres an hour. Now, given the sodden nature of the soils, tree failures will be more likely than usual. Now, having a look at the satellite, you can see the white cloud there of the IR satellite and the blues and greens with the radar wrapping in, showing that northeasterly feed coming in off the Coral Sea. And if we have a look at the water vapour enhancement, if we look out to the west, we can see the cold, dry air in the upper atmosphere in the white and brown, and then the moist air coming in off the Coral Sea in the green and white. Now, the two are trying to mix, and as a result, we've seen quite a rapid deepening of that coastal trough, which has led to that extreme rainfall overnight in the region. Now, the rain observations, the top performer was Coplicks Bridge in the southern hinterland of the Gold Coast, with up to 358 millimetres falling there. And then over the border at Benora, we saw up to 283 millimetres fall. And since the 3 hours since 9 a.m, most of the falls have been fairly muted, with some onshore flow around the Hunter Coast, but most of the rainfall is offshore, but as we'll see, that'll push back on during the course of today. Now, having a look at the forecast wind and rain, we can see that low that's formed has become a major focus, and that focus has really concentrated the weather around it. But we will see as the course of the day goes, that activity picking up along the coast with quite a bit of activity extending onto the mid-north coast. But then by Wednesday, retracting probably out of the northern tablelands largely. And then we'll see the system drift away to the southeast, and that's going to be replaced by quite a vigorous southerly to southeasterly flow. So this exposed coast, largely south of Port Macquarie, we'll see a large pickup in shower activity with cooler conditions there. And those winds also whipping up the waves with lots and lots of wave energy. So looking at hazardous surf for the entirety of the New South Wales coast, possibly with the inclusion of the Gold Coast and possibly the eastern Gippsland coast there. But given this wraparound, we'll see a marked decrease in the weather over the region during the second half of this week. Now, having a look at the accumulated rainfall, we can see that low coming in and the accumulations quickly stopping. So we've seen in the purple here up to 200 millimetres. Now, this isn't picking up the finer scale stuff that you'd find within the intense rainfall of up to 300 millimetres, but it's giving us a good demonstration of where we can expect the rainfall. So pretty much from Tweed down to the Port Macquarie area. Now, having a look at the flood watches and warnings, it's a patchwork quilt across the region with the flood watches in blue, minors in green, moderates in orange, and importantly, the majors in red. So we've got the couple of rivers in the Queensland area, Condamine and the Mile Creek, which has affected Dalby. We've seen flood levels not reach that of 2011. And then also the Bellinger and Arara down near Grafton and Coffs, also a major warning, and a slew of warnings up in the northeast with majors around that Tweed area. Now, we're not expecting the flood level at Lismore to overtop the levee. However, it still remains in a major flood warning. We do have the the total wave height. Now, this is that low moving down, and this is showing the energy on the ocean. And by Friday, you can see heights almost getting up to 8 metres of total wave height along that New South Wales coast. So it's important for marine users to have extra precautions, because it will be quite hazardous as we move right out into the weekend. This is going to be quite a sustained hazardous surf event for New South Wales. And it goes without saying, the marine wind warnings seeing strong winds through Queensland and down to south of Port Macquarie. Unusually, we saw gale warnings last night in the Moreton Bay, which is just highlighting how unusual this event is. Gale warnings extending from Tweed down to the mid-north coast in areas which don't normally see gale warnings. And then as we move into Wednesday, a broadening of that as that low really winds up and causes quite a bit of wind to be exposed along that coast. And that's it from the Bureau. Keep up to date with the latest forecasts and warnings on our website, app and social media, and please follow the advice of emergency services.